Well, yeah,
like,
and that does kind of put your balls on the line. Like,
yeah,
if you
just another thing to get bullied over.
Yeah, well, if you step up and you, as the bullied person, fail, now you're going to look even stupider, and now there's even more bullying that's going to come down on you.
It's kind of a cool thing being bald and like getting the oils, because it's actually a natural like lotion.
Oh,
and my hands dry out a lot.
Should I just like rub your head?
Yeah.
You had to wear glasses to see. And it's kind of the same thing as being born with a disability or a skin color that a bunch of people don't like. You know, it's something that's beyond your control. You didn't decide on this. It's just who you are, and people give you shit for it.
And that's something that people can't help either. Like, everyone goes through that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and people would say like, oh, well, you should, wash your face more. And it's like, I do.
Yeah.
It's a hormonal thing. It's a chemical thing. I have no control over that. It's just something that happens. Like, fuck if I know, but.
Hey, all you nerds and losers out there. Welcome to another Kitchen Sink Microscopy. I'm Casey Rochford, and I'm cooler than you. So I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to like this video, and you're going to share it with your buddies, and then you're going to subscribe to the channel, or else.
Well, and I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and I'm even cooler than you. So, because I write my own music, and you don't. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, actually.
I do.
yeah, you do. We actually do together.
Quit pointing your finger at me, buddy.
Yeah. Well, remember, when you point finger at you, there's 3 fingers pointing back. Wait, when you point a finger at somebody, you can't get fooled again.
If you point like this, there's 3 fingers pointing at the dude next to you and blaming him. So
exactly. So yeah, we do write our own music, and it's available on all kinds of places out in the interwebs, iTunes and Spotify and stuff. Stick around to the end of the show, timestamp down here, hopefully, and you'll probably hear a new song. And we've got a website, ksmvidcast.com, if you really care. Yeah. So we might be okay. I'm 3 sheets to the wind here, so we'll see how this goes. But what do you want to talk about today, Casey?
Well, if that timestamp for the music is still there, it's going to be covering my nipples. But that's not what I want to talk about. The way I started this show was kind of rough and mean, and a little bit of a bullying characteristic to it. So I thought, something that you and I are both pretty passionate about is ending bullying, but just to kind of talk about like what it really is and where it comes from and how we can get rid of it. And there's so many angles to go off of there.
Yeah. And not only that, but how to deal with it. If you're the subject of bullying.
Yep.
Yeah, there's this is a huge topic, and I don't know that we're going to be able to do it justice in the time we have. Yeah, but this is something I think we've both experienced bullying in some fashion. Honestly, I would say most people have in some way. There's people who think that like their bullying, like the bullying they experience makes them unique. Like, no, in fact, even bullies are bullied. In fact, that might be why they bully. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. And I was bullied at a pretty young age, and I became a bully in high school. Like, I was mean to people, and like on a regular basis. Like, that's the thing. Like, right? It's not just lobbing insults, or getting into fights here and there and like saying mean shit. It's like a daily repeated something you can almost like set your watch to, sort of protracted torture. Like
Well,
it's
it kind of is.
and
Yeah.
that's really the crux of it. Like the thing that gives it the power is the fact that it drains people over time. Like it beats them down, wears them down, just drains their entire life of joy.
True. I mean, it's kind of like water torture, essentially. That
Yeah.
maybe if, like you said, if something isolated happened to you one time or sporadically, you'd be able to deal with it. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, whatever. That person's an asshole. Just move on. But if every single day, and this is very common in school, because of course you're kind of forced to
Yep.
be in the same space with the same people every single day. Well, weekdays, it, there's opportunities for people to do that. And yeah, a little bit at a time, just kind of slowly chipping away, like death by 1,000 paper cuts, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that makes it so insidious too, I guess, is that if you, as the person who's being bullied, tried to bring it to somebody's attention, well, maybe whatever happened might be so insignificant that they'd be like, well, what's the big deal? But it's the cumulative effect over
Right.
all that time that makes that one little thing so significant.
Well, and bringing it to somebody's attention, to try to get help, that makes it worse.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, what do you do? And that's that's a valid, like, I mean, I don't want to say valid, but like it's an understandable response. The bully doesn't want to get in trouble, so they're going to double down on their bullying to make sure you don't do it again. Like they're going to punish you for trying to resist their bullying.
Oh yeah, and a lot of times people don't get believed. Like the authorities or the people you trust, the adults or whatever, they don't believe you.
Yeah.
And that's a huge problem too. Or that maybe they kind of dismiss it as being like, oh, it's just that's what kids do.
Yeah.
Boys will be boys or whatever, that kind of thing. Like which is valid. People goof around a lot and they do stuff, but that's what kind of makes it really dangerous is like you can't tell the difference. And if teachers or parents or whatever were to jump on every single tiny little thing, well, maybe that's overreaction. So
I'm sure there's some of that happening, but it's still like, real quick though, to go back to the retaliation aspect. I had that happen to me. I was in a Catholic school, very small class size. It all mostly started in the 4th grade, and by the 5th grade, I was getting pretty tired of it. And I had an actual nun for teacher, and my parents and I went and spoke with this nun. And she was kind of a hard ass, and I didn't really think I liked her that much, but she's actually the only teacher at that school that ever stuck up for me. And she took time out of class the following day and basically gave an ass reaming to everybody. And I had to sit there and watch it, where she said, you know what, like, we need to talk about bullying. And she turned around to the chalkboard. That's how old I am. And and she writes in giant letters, like 3-foot tall letters, nerd, on the chalkboard. That was what everyone called me. And I look around the classroom and people are giving me fucking like dagger stares. And I was like, oh shit. And sure enough, man, they were ramped up. I would get spit on, and like 6th grade, they would break into my locker, steal my books so I couldn't do homework, and
Oh shit.
spit on me, and the teachers would watch it and not do shit. Like, because that year they weren't nuns and they didn't have compassion apparently. But yeah, like you get real disillusioned and you don't know where to turn or what to do. And I wasn't a violent person. My dad kept telling me, just hit them. And I was like, I don't want to. Like, they'll just hit me back. Like it's only going to escalate it to a physical confrontation.
Yeah, and I don't know that converting it to the physical side is necessarily a good solution.
Yeah, as good as it might feel in the moment, like it's not really going to help.
No, generally it doesn't. I mean, it does feel good to whoop someone's ass who's giving you shit for a long time, and believe me, I've done that a few times. And in fact, crazy thing, one of those times I whooped somebody's ass, and they became one of my best friends.
That actually does happen a lot. I just didn't have the confidence I would win and get it to that point, right? Like, here's the thing. If you're the bully and you attempt to fight back and you don't win, you're probably not going to become friends.
Yeah. Well, probably
they're not Klingons. They're not going to respect you for fighting back. They're going to make fun of you for being a pussy and not being able to beat their ass.
Well, yeah, like, and that does kind of put your balls on the line. Like,
yeah,
if you
just another thing to get bullied over.
Yeah, well, if you step up and you as the bullied person fail, now you're going to look even stupider, and now there's even more bullying that's going to come down on you. Yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. Yeah, I experienced the same whole nerd thing because I was fucking glasses, like it's almost the same. I wouldn't necessarily equate it, but it's something I was born with. I can't change the fact that I have to wear glasses to see. Well, I can now that LASIK is a thing. But now glasses is kind of part of my personality. But back when I was a kid, it wasn't. Like, you had to wear glasses to see. And it's kind of the same thing as being born with a disability or a skin color that a bunch of people don't like. It's something that's beyond your control. You didn't decide on this. It's just who you are, and people give you shit for it. So I had the same kind of thing, being called a nerd. Interestingly, that when I went to a private Christian school, being smart was cool.
I had the opposite experience.
I guess it depends on the school, but when I decided kind of in middle school that I was going to switch over to private school, and it wasn't cool to be smart, and it wasn't cool to have glasses. So I got made fun of quite a lot. And then, as hormones started developing, like I had acne and that added to it. So double trouble, I guess.
And that's something that people can't help either. Like, everyone goes through that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and people would say like, oh, well, you should, wash your face more. And it's like, I do.
Yeah.
It's a hormonal thing. It's a chemical thing. I have no control over that. It's just something that happens. Like, fuck if I know, but like I've got all the what is it? The oxy things, the little pads.
Oh yeah.
Like, face. Didn't do shit, by the way.
Oh no, it never does. None of those things work. They're a waste of money.
Yeah.
It's a great racket. They're like, oh, use this astringent and it's all natural and it will take the oils away. And it's like, but they are constantly being produced. So unless you're constantly wiping them away and like doing damage to your skin because you need the oils.
Exactly. Like, and the ads always have like beautiful people. Like, you could be beautiful too if you just use our pads. Well, it isn't necessarily just oils. There's other things going on. It's not a matter of being unclean. It's chemistry and biology. Like,
I'm kind of an oily person. Like, I had an acne problem, and now, like, just now I was like wiping my head off, but it's kind of a cool thing being bald and like getting the oils because it's actually a natural like lotion.
Oh,
and my hands dry out a lot.
Should I just like rub your head?
Yeah, it's actually a thing. Like most people just do it on the back of their neck, but I get my whole head.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of like Scandinavian, so being oily is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
all the fish.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
even though I don't eat much fish.
I do, but maybe it has something to do with trying to keep moisture off of you. I don't know. I don't know the whole like evolution of how that came to be, but yeah, like that was a thing that happened to me back then. And knowing things, even like if you're smart, that and get good grades, right? And in fact, to some extent, part of my pushback against all the bullying went down the path of like, just saying, fuck it. Like I didn't care anymore about grades. I didn't care about school. And you could argue that was probably a bad thing.
Well, once you understand what causes bullying, you can play to it, right? Like it's insecurity. Like you said,
you're
like
right.
If you know a lot of things that makes them feel dumb, they want to make you look dumb. So they make fun of you. So if once you learn that and you learn how to play it or deflect it or not let it bother you, or at least make it appear that it doesn't bother you, I think that's the key. And that's why, I mean, one of my particular forms of humor is self-deprecation. And it's like, it's just judo. Like I'm taking something that is a characteristic about me that might be made fun of often, and I'm just beating them to the punch and making fun of it so that it's fun. Well, instead of giving them the power to hurt me with it, it just becomes a joke.
And it deflates any kind of argument they might have.
Punching your bully will never be as effective as just rolling with the punches, or not the real punches, but like, rolling with their bullying attempts and being like, yeah, that is pretty funny, and maybe make a joke about yourself and, laugh it off, and
well, yeah, exactly. And like, you're right about the judo thing, understanding the reasons, because a lot of people, especially kids, they don't know any better, and they're going to take it internally. Like they're going to internalize that and think, well, this is all about me. I must be worthy of this. So they're going to feel bad. As soon as you recognize like that bullying comes from a position of weakness, the person that's bullying you is fearful. They're feeling small. So in order to feel better, they have to make somebody else feel small so they can have control, some sense of control. And a lot of times, and I would say pity the bully, because many times those kinds of the origins of that are really shitty home life. Like
abuse, depression.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're in a bad place and they're trying to make themselves feel better any way they can, and this is the only way they know, because they're kids too, like oh man.
I think, I can't remember an exact instance, but I think at some point I realized that, and I tried to kind of like use some psychology and be like, what's wrong? What's going on in your life? Like what's making you act this way? Or, and as long as you don't seem disingenuous or be condescending about it, you might actually be able to make some inroads. Obviously not if their friends are around, but if you're on a one-on-one where they
because
they don't feel like they got to put up a front for saving face and stuff. That might be a way to like deflate the situation. And obviously, like just for YouTube advertising purposes, we're not just speaking to kids, because bullying can happen at any age.
Well, no, you're absolutely correct. The thing is, we don't suddenly mature when we turn 18 and we're like, oh, I see the error of my ways. I understand everything. No, the same patterns that built us when we were young continue.
Yeah, and
unless affected by something.
I don't even know that it's maturity. It's just insecurity, period. Like
and experiences and
yeah,
growth.
I mean, I don't think it's something that you like naturally grow out of. Like throwing a tantrum is a maturity thing, or like just stuff like that. Like security blanket things, but like that's more of a defense mechanism against whatever bad shit is going on in their life, and it can develop at any time. Like I said, I kind of became a bully in high school and then got over it. Like I realized, oh, I'm being a shitty person that I used to hate. So I changed. You develop empathy and things like that. And empathy isn't a maturity thing either. I mean, you're born with it to some degree. Your life experiences dictate how well or how fast that develops, but it's not necessarily tied to certain age milestones either. No. So in that aspect, yeah, it's like a time dependent and experience dependent thing, but it's not necessarily a maturity thing. Like, oh, now that I'm 18, I'm empathetic.
Well, no. And I guess maturity to me, it has nothing to do with age. It's more experiential. Right. But that's my thought is like, once you start to, when you collect all those experiences, you see the world differently as time goes on. But I don't remember the point I was going to make. More beer.
As I crack another myself.
Oh yeah,
with my Grand Canyon bottle opener.
Nice. Well, here's something that I think is kind of important about bullying. That and now I would almost put it in the same box as other kinds of abuse, whether it be familial abuse or whatever. It's kind of in the same camp. And it has the same effect. It makes you feel like shit. Yeah. But bullying can result in suicide. People just, it's happened so often throughout time where some kid or whatever, there's people making fun of him or her, and they feel like they're nothing, and they end up just ending their life because a bunch of other people just we're making fun of them, essentially.
That and like the mass shooting, those are two like extreme lash outs that result from bullying. And I simultaneously that's like why I simultaneously hate bullying, but also understand the plight of the bullied person. Like, I'm not justifying their response. Like, it's not good to kill yourself. It's not good to kill other people.
No,
but I see how you get pushed to that point. I've been that person. I've had that kind of allostatic stress overload where your brain is clouded, and
exactly.
You're on fight or flight, and your natural instinct could be to either there's two components. There's the antagonist and there's the victim. And if you take one or the other out of the picture, it ends.
Yeah.
And that's what it boils down to. And that's, when your brain is so clouded by all that stress, it's black and white. That's all you see. Like either it's me or them.
Yeah, exactly. It breaks down your logic, your sense of self to the point where there is nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
And
I might have sounded like a defense attorney there, but
no, but you're absolutely correct that I too can understand like Columbine and all the crazy shit that's happened. Like I can see how like that equation leads that result is born out of that equation. Like they're like it's so obvious.
It's possible that in tragedy both sides are victims.
Yeah. Well, that's
in
true.
fact, oftentimes, maybe even all the time, that's the case.
Man, I think you're right.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Like,
no, that's true. Yeah.
There's very few people that are simply just motivated to hurt others for pleasure. It's possible. It's like 0.1% of 1 out of 25 people are these like psychopathic, sociopathic, like serial killer people that just get off on killing, right?
Yes, but those people, they preserve themselves so they can continue doing it. Mass shooters, like
they don't care anymore.
Statistically,
they give no fucks.
They kill themselves afterwards.
Yep.
They exact some kind of self-imposed regime of revenge and then kill themselves.
I bet you anything they don't even plan to.
No.
They just do what they do, and they either, or both, they either feel remorse from what they've just done, or they feel scared for the retribution that they're going to have to face and end things. And it's like a multi-leveled tragedy.
Oh, totally.
When it gets to this point, And
it's possible they were already going to kill themselves and thought, well, I might as well take as many of these assholes with me as I can. And assholes being, assholes being like whoever they thought wronged them.
Right.
And
it's perfectly natural.
Yeah. I can understand that. I think it sucks because there's like, it doesn't have to come to that. It totally doesn't.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, like people who are bullies should think about that.
Right.
Like the consequences of your actions, like what is going to be
that's it.
Future outcome.
What are the consequences? There are none. Like bullies in elementary school aren't getting carted off to juvenile hall for being a bully. Should they be? Maybe.
Or at least some kind of counseling. Because we said, there's a reason for it. And the reason isn't that they're just evil.
Right.
There's a cause behind the scenes.
I mean, we've talked about how effective prison is, right?
Yeah.
But that's like adults. And now, I know I said bullying can happen at any age, but a lot of it does stem from what happens in your childhood. If you're a bully as a child, there's a chance you'll just keep doing the same shit.
Well, yeah, because that's your formative years. That's when your mind is developing.
And if there's no consequences as a kid, you're going to expect there won't be any consequences later.
Ooh, yeah.
And,
and then you become a politician or a lawyer.
Right. and while prison might not work so well on adults because they've already developed, right? Punishment does. I mean, I'm sure there's studies, right, that show like grounding kids or, putting them in juvenile hall or taking away, grounding them or taking away TV or whatever it is, does dissuade them from certain bad behavior and a good chunk of cases, right? Yet we have nothing like that with bullying. Like we'll wag our fingers at them like harder and harder and harder and have all these like, awareness campaigns and shit. And it's like, we're all aware bullying happens. What the fuck are we doing about it?
Exactly. And
shit.
you're right. What if Hitler was bullied by a Jewish person over his paintings?
Right.
Like, is that where all that came from?
6 million people died because of bullying. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's possible.
Like, I mean, it it would kind of stand to reason. Like, it's entirely possible. Like,
not only 6 million people, but like if you think about it, the entire course of history was changed by that. Neo-Nazis have been killing people, like
yeah.
countless people.
Well,
could have died.
that's
Could have died because Hitler got bullied.
the 6 million is only the people in the concentration camps. Like, what
Right.
about all of the people fighting, shooting each other for bullshit reasons?
That too.
And like, all of that could have been avoided
The
if
people
somebody
killed in
was
the
not
streets.
bullied.
Yeah.
Like, today we might be being like, oh yeah, Adolf Hitler. Oh, those paintings, they're so beautiful. Like, they're so collectible, and spending millions of dollars on them. But oh no, history sees things differently.
I guess he was kind of a shit painter, but then like Jackson Pollock is popular. So
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's subjective. Art is definitely
well, like a plain white canvas is, like $8,000, like
yeah. Oh yeah, don't get into NFTs though, because that's a whole different thing. But I'll avoid that. But that's the thing. Like, it is a powerful thing, a powerful influence on people during their most formative years, and we should be very, very wary of those things, cautious, like, pay attention to that, and notice how people are interacting, kids and stuff.
And this is really on parents, right?
Yeah.
Like, kids aren't going to understand that, fathom that, come up with that on their own. They don't have the experience or the, networking of neuronal connections to put all that together.
Yeah. I don't even think most adults do.
No, they don't. And like, in these situations, I've had my parents go talk to the parents of bullies, and it really gets nowhere because parents are always just like giving their kid the benefit of the doubt. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, right? Like, your kid can do no wrong. Like, that's the default.
Well, because they only see what they see.
Yeah. And of course your kid will play off of your familial connection and be like, wait, you doubt me? Like, guilt trip you into like looking past what they're doing.
And maybe a little bit of gaslighting going on.
Yeah,
too.
you got to fight that. Like, you really got to get past that and not punish them, but because
educate them.
Punishment, punishment doesn't create empathy.
No.
Like, in any situation ever. Like, that's why prison isn't effective. But, in formative years, harsh punishments can possibly kind of create the spark of empathy. Like, wow, I'm I'm stuck in juvenile hall or whatever. Like, what's this going to do to my future? Like, what would that do to other people? What got me here? Whatever you can do to get them thinking in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Do that. However you do it. I'm not going to tell you how to parent, but that should be your goal. Not to punish them. That's not the goal. Not to be you against them or take the side of the person that they're allegedly bullying. It's like, hey, this has been, you've been alleged as having bullied somebody. If that's the case, like, hypothetically, well, here, like, I'm going to play dad for a second.
Okay,
hey, son.
Daddy.
Yeah. Hey, son, these people's parents just came to me and said you're bullying their kid. And I'm not saying you did that, right? But hypothetically, if you were going to pick on somebody, What do you think is causing that? Where's that coming from? You know, like let's
Yeah.
role play for a second. Let's say nobody's getting punished for anything. Let's say you are a bully. Tell me how you would bully somebody and why. What is that giving you? What's that doing for you?
Well, and that might work if the parents were invested in their kids and actually like there's a lot of thoughts I have about punishment and things like that. But
I mean, that's an exercise in
what
empathy,
you're saying
right?
is actually like correct. That is the correct way to handle that kind of situation. But it requires that the parents actually care.
Yeah.
And the cause of bullying in a lot of cases is parents that don't care.
Yeah.
So it may be kind of like a lost cause in that case. And when it comes to punishment,
Well, okay. In that case, then, let's say you're the parent of the bullied child.
Yeah.
And you go to the parent of the bully and you say, and you're getting the vibe that they don't give a shit. Maybe try saying, hey, could you bring your kid in here, like, and, you know, just let me talk to them while you supervise, you know, and pose that question to the kid that's not even your own and just say, hey, I'm not saying you did this or you didn't, but for the sake of argument, you know, with no consequences, you know, like we're all pretending here. Let's say you are doing this. Why are you doing it? How does it make you feel?
And now with supervision might be a problem though, because if the parents are a strong influence, one or more parents, then they might be like the kid might be afraid to say, well, my dad beats me every single night.
That's true. That's a good point.
And that could, and it actually probably is the cause of a lot of bullying, is something along those lines.
I mean, yeah, and that's a tricky situation. I mean, like, say the kid sees this as an opportunity to have like a sliver of a safe space and actually says that. What do you do?
Oh shit.
Like, do you look at the parent and see how they react and make a decision of your own? And then, like, do you show the bully that now you're going to be like physical with somebody? Or, you know, like, that's a tough dichotomy.
It is really, really tough.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Like, it's certainly not easy dealing with these situations, but we're certainly not handling it as good as we could.
No. And we're not teaching our kids, because I keep bringing up kids because I think it begins there. We're not instructing our kids or giving them the proper tools to deal with bullying, which is actually fairly easy to deal with as long as you have the right perspective and understanding about things. But I we're a long way as a society from that. Oh man.
But well, yeah, the mass shooting angle of this is, you know, another huge avenue to go down.
Well, yeah, because like nobody,
or mass killing, let's say, because you know, bombs or knives or whatever,
things, whatever. Nobody does that for no reason. You don't just wake up one day and you're like, well, I'm going to kill a whole bunch of people. That doesn't happen. Like, even me, I like being somebody who was bullied constantly throughout middle school and high school and stuff. Like, I don't think that. I think like
that thought never crossed my mind, but like, but I still understand where it's coming from.
I do too. I totally do as well. Like, I get that you get to your wit's end and think there's no other way. And maybe some people think, well, I'm going to make my mark or something. but it's tragic and terrible.
Yeah.
Because most of the people that die in those situations had nothing to do with it. They were not the bully. Like,
I mean, a lot of what would help with this, and I'm not the first to think of this by any means, but normalizing mental health, therapy, stuff like that. Like, I mean, therapy is one of those things. Like, this is therapy. This show is very therapeutic for me. It's probably one of the most effective tools of therapy I've ever employed. So it doesn't have to be like a paid situation kind of psychologist sort of thing. Like families having dinner night where there's a conversation topic is basically kitchen sink microscopy. And that's been going on for ages.
Oh yeah, like when we used to get together at Sherry's for coffee. And
exactly.
Stuff, same kind of thing.
As long as you have some kind of outlet for anything internalized, and it's an open floor, an open forum, there's no prejudice, there's no retaliation or retribution for what you say or think or do in that moment. Like, if we just normalize that, like an outlet, at all ages, and let people vent their shit, like, it's not gonna boil over and blow up and manifest in mass shootings or suicides or bullying.
The mental health aspect is so important, and normalization of people going through things, and because when I was growing up, it's like, oh well, that was the weird kid, or that's just like the goth or something, and the jocks are cool. You're right. Like the I think having a forum to express yourself and maybe even propose ideas and have a kind of back and forth conversation without judgment. That's the key. Where there's no judgment, nobody's going to judge you. You can openly discuss whatever the hell you want, which is super important, whether it be bullying, abuse, whether it be physical or sexual or whatever, all these things that people deal with. Being able to discuss that is so important. And people, I think it's really important for the people you're talking those things through with to not be judgmental and be accepting, because these kinds of things happen.
And that can be hard in a family dynamic. But more and more I'm seeing that, maybe it's generational or whatever. Maybe people have been coming to this conclusion and changing their parenting styles and stuff. But, that whole open communication thing seems to be becoming more popular. So, I mean, that's a good trend.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, that's not necessarily anything I ever felt that I had. And that's not like faulting my parents. It's just that, like, I never felt comfortable. I'm not saying like it's their fault that I didn't, but like it just wasn't normal.
Well, like, you're dealing with complex systems, as society, essentially, cultures and things. And,
it stems from fear of retribution, fear of punishment.
Or judgment, like people
judgment,
and especially
disappointing your parents is like a horrible feeling.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're somebody who's being bullied, you might be more inclined to judge yourself so harshly you don't even want to share what's going on.
Right.
Out of sight, out of mind. Like maybe you don't even want to talk about it. Like we really should talk about it. And now, go ahead.
Well, on the parent side, like it's got to be really hard to watch your kid be bullied.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's got to be a helpless feeling if I'm being empathetic, because I was only a dad for like a couple months, but like it you feel like you have to do something, right?
Yeah.
And I saw that in my own dad, and maybe there's nothing you can do in that particular moment, but there's things you can say. You can steer your child in a good direction, or you can give them an open forum to talk about what they're feeling, and just listen. And if they say something that raises a red flag, address it. Like if they feel like they want to hurt someone, or if they feel like they want to hurt themselves, that's when you really got to step in and address things. And
because people don't just say those kinds of things casually. Like that is a serious thing. When people start talking about that, it's not just a joke, and it should be taken seriously.
I mean, sometimes it is. There are people that kind of abuse the idea of suicide, but at the same time, and we've talked about this many times, but at the same time, that's something you can never not take seriously.
Yeah, exactly. And if you want to be able to filter things, you have to. It's pretty simple to look at why, like the reasons. If somebody's like, "Oh, I don't get the candy, I'm going to kill myself." Like, okay, that's not the case. But if there's something shadowy that you don't know about, and someone's talking about suicide, like you might want to take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And
luckily, like, not to diminish anything or dissuade people from watching for signs or anything, but luckily most kids don't get to that point, or like consider that an option. Like that's one of those things that kind of comes with age, I guess. Because like if you think about it, like if you don't even understand the concept of death, it's not gonna like be on your plate as far as an option goes, right? Like
you might talk about it, but actually not be contemplating following through with it.
Yeah, like you don't see a lot of 6-year-olds killing themselves, right? So like obviously there's, but you also don't see a whole lot of bullying at that age either. Like there's a whole lot of developmental and sociological things at play.
Yeah, in fact, the times I saw the most bullying were the tumultuous times of hormones, like hormonal changes in people. So middle school, high school, that kind of range of times.
See, for me, it started earlier though. But okay, I will say this, like it started around 4th grade for me, and I'm like a year younger than everyone, right? Because I was like 17 when I graduated. So I guess I was probably like 8, 9 in 4th grade when all this started. And I had already begun puberty at that age.
Wow. Baller.
So I mean, it is what it is, but like, I'd get random boners and stuff, and like voices changing, and I'd see hot chicks, and I'd be like, "Oh, wow," like at 9, right? Like, so maybe it was my hormones that was like making me a target. I don't know.
That could be. Well, and being different does kind of make you a target. I guess.
Yeah.
In a sense.
It really does. I wish I could still get boners like that. Jeez.
Yeah, I had the same exact thing. I remember. Oh, geez. Okay, I probably shouldn't share this, but I will anyway. I've had enough beer. So it was like sixth grade. I was sitting in the homeroom class, and it was sort of like a kind of like a before other classes, you go there and everybody would do their thing,
Homeroom.
I guess. Yeah. So I'm sitting at my desk, like drawing some stuff as I was inclined to do, because I like to draw, which actually helped me with bullying. But I'm sitting there drawing and I see a bunch of shadows come around me, and I look up and there's a whole bunch of girls standing around my desk, and they're like, "Hey, show us your hand." And I'm like, "Okay." And they were like looking at my finger, and they're like, "You're that big?" And I'm like, "What? What are you even talking about?" And they're like, "Hee," and then like ran away.
Wait,
And then
but what?
like, I don't know, apparently there's some equation with your like the length of your digits or something like that. It was a middle school thing. All I gotta say is I wish I knew then what I know now. It would have been a whole different game.
Yeah, I have a distinct memory of fourth grade out on the playground being around a bunch of friends. And, we had wear uniforms, so I got these corduroy pants on. I haven't worn corduroy since, by the way. I can't stand the shit. But I was out on the playground and I was like, "Hey guys, watch what I can do." And like I basically like made my pants go like this.
Oh man,
to demonstrate with like not those parts.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Ew, what the hell?"
Yeah, cooties. Back in the day, it's like cooties, and now you're like shawing.
It's like wiggling your ears, but
Oh man. Well, and dealing with bullying, there's kind of a lot of stuff I still feel like we should talk about, but like, how did we deal with being bullied? I got very logical and methodical about things and started analyzing stuff and kind of coming up with my own system, which sticks with me today. Like, I would not be honestly the same person if I had not gone through that. And I would say it was actually a good thing. Ultimately, not in the moment. It kind of sucked, but ultimately it was a good thing.
I agree with that. Like, it's not something I would have wanted to go through again, of course, but
yeah,
it did mold me. Like, if you get through it, right, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That makes sense, right? Nietzsche was right about that. Yeah. It's like it gives you skills, tools for your toolbox, whatever. When you're faced with some kind of adversity or challenge, it shows you a way to get around it, to defend yourself,
or resolve stuff in your head too.
Yeah.
Like, how do you tackle things in your head? I would not be Polly if it were not for being bullied, and I take it for what it is. I think it's a good thing, because the skills that I learned in dealing with being bullied allowed me to deal with virtually anything. Like, there is literally no situation that I can think of that I can't resolve in my head, like, easily. and
that's fine for an individual, but like interpersonal interaction does kind of depend on what the other person's equipped with as well.
that's true. Yeah.
You know, like I'm the same way. I'm very logical and, you know, process oriented. But that doesn't do a whole lot of good if the other person that you're trying to square things up with can't see things that way.
That's true. But then that's what you deal with when you're dealing with bullying. So
Yep.
you also learn the tools that you need to deal with that, like irrational individuals. Like, how do you deal with that? What do you do?
And if their only reactions or responses are based off of physicality, maybe the logical thing to do is to punch them in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying like that's a good thing or not, but like if you determine that, like, I mean, here's the thing, like the whole punch a Nazi thing, like just walk up to somebody on the street and punch them unprovoked because, you know, you saw their face on a flyer that said they're a Nazi, you're an asshole. Yeah. Right. But if you're in an altercation with somebody and you've exhausted every possibility in your toolkit and they're still being an asshole, I'm all for throwing a punch, right? Like some people only respond to certain stimuli, and one of those happens to be physical altercation, you know, and it, like, would it be my first go-to? Absolutely not.
No, it's kind of like a last resort.
Yeah, pretty much, you know, like, because it's the most primal one, right? Like,
yeah,
like you've exhausted everything. The only thing left is pain, right? You know, like everybody wants to avoid being in pain. So if you show them that being a dick is going to make them hurt, yeah, I get it.
Well, and you know, it's kind of not that shocking that both of us have gotten into martial arts and things.
And yet never thrown a punch.
No. I mean, not for a very long time. And I have a shitload of guns and I've never shot anybody. Like, I hope
I have no guns. Like I've carried I don't carry a knife now because like a screw fell out of the belt clip and, you know, like whatever. But like for the most part, I've carried a knife my whole life and just use it as a tool. Yeah. You know, one time I drew it to fend off somebody that was attacking me. One time, but I didn't use it. And
that's kind of actually how things tend to play out in that regard.
Yeah. And I've never thrown a punch. Like, ever.
That's the point. It's like, well, you studied ninjutsu and stuff. So
yeah, like I'm confident that I could incapacitate somebody. If I were pushed to it, I could, like, I know ways to kill people. Yeah. Because of ninjutsu. Like I am a deadly weapon.
Exactly. You know? Like your hands, do you have to register those?
Everybody's a deadly weapon. Everybody knows what threshold a certain act is going to require to kill someone.
Yeah, but here's the thing that, like, both of us having all of those tools at our disposal and having never used them in anger. God, the last time I got angry at somebody, I like slammed a shovel down on pavement, like back in high school, because somebody was making fun of me, and I just grabbed a shovel, was like, yeah, you want to fucking fight? And like, boom, like pounded a shovel down, and he was like totally terrified. He thought I was like a psychopath killer. But the thing is, like, I never intended to do harm, and I never would. That's not the way to solve problems. Having the ability to defend yourself and knowing that you can do that changes the game a bit.
That's posturing. It's in the animal kingdom too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, better make myself look big.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Like
That's all it is. You're puffing yourself up and saying, look, if you keep this up, it's going to get physical. You really want to go there, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, not at all.
If you're fed up with shit, and this is the thing, right? Like the knee jerk reaction, the frivolous litigation that goes into like physical stuff, threats and things like that. Like we gotta calm down with that shit. Like,
I agree.
Threats are like, you should be hypercritical of threats, not like super liberal with it. Like people accuse me of being like hyper liberal, but I am anything but, right? Like this is one of those things where it's like, you've got to exercise some critical thinking and be like, like if you say some heads are going to roll, you're not being literal. You're not going to go bowling with somebody's decapitated head, right? Like that's not a threat. You're posturing.
It's a euphemism. Like when has anybody said that and it has happened? You just have to look at the numbers to know that.
Although apparently there's a haunted hotel in England somewhere where there's a guy that rolls decapitated heads down the hallway.
Well,
that's an isolated incident that may or may not actually happen.
Exactly. And if you were in the French Revolutionary period, well, maybe saying heads are going to roll might be accurate literally. But
that's your actual government. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
So, like the whole threat of violence sort of thing is like, that should never be punished ever. And here's why, because that is a vital last step to end bullying. You take that away. If you take away the threat of violence, you go from feeling like, okay, I've exhausted every option. My only other option is to threaten. Oh, I'm going to get in trouble for that. I might as well just fucking do it. You jump right over the fence. You jump over the threat fence. I better make myself look big. And you go right to doing the act. Like by punishing people for leveling threats at each other, you are creating violence.
Well, yeah, because the posturing, like what you're saying, that usually results in things being diffused.
Yeah, it means shit's getting serious. Like, you're pissing me off with what you're doing. You need to think about it. You need to stop.
Well, like that guy that I threatened with a shovel. Like, I had no intention of cutting his head off with a shovel, but he seriously believed that was going to happen. Like, you should have seen his eyes. They were so giant. Like, he was terrified. Like, but the thing is, I would never do that. Like,
it's effective.
It is. Well,
appearance is so much of a diffuser.
Yeah.
I was, our mutual friend Aaron was about to get in a fight with somebody, and I just showed up to back him up. And I'm wearing my leather jacket and I got my long hair and my biker gloves on. I was like, like that was part of my appearance as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And it worked, right? Because the other guy that Aaron was going to fight had his guys backing him up. I overheard one of them say, "Don't attack Casey. He's a black belt." And I'd never had a single martial arts class. I'm not even a black belt today. Like, and I was just like, okay, good. They think I'm a black belt. I'm going to let them think that.
Yeah,
because
why not?
It's appearance, and it gives you a level of defense that doesn't actually hurt anybody. Threats don't hurt anybody.
That's true. And maybe there's so much like philosophy and human history and like old, I guess, evolutionary stuff going on here, where all this comes from and why it works or doesn't. And man,
I guess what I'm saying is like, we err so hard on the side of caution. We punish people for leveling threats at each other.
mm-hmm.
But really what we should be doing is relaxing that, because I would rather have a kid say, hey, if you don't stop bullying me, I'm going to shoot you and all your friends, and have the bullying end right there because they're scared of doing something wrong because they've been doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And then they stop. I would rather have that, and then nobody gets shot, right?
Well,
I would rather have that than have the kid who's been bullied and picked on and levels that threat, and then he gets in trouble for getting bullied and making a threat that he may or may not have ever followed through with. That's bullshit.
Well, good, totally. And people, when they should look not at the singular situation, whatever they're faced with, but like the chain of events that led to that situation. And what you'd said made me think of Stand By Me, I think it was, where the characters were faced with a bunch of bullies, and the kid like brings up the revolver, and the other kid's like, are you going to shoot all of us? And he's like, no, just you. Like, man, that's badass. Like, and they walked away. Nobody got shot. Nobody fought. They were like, ooh, okay, this is serious.
Yeah, it works. Threats are diffusers, not antagonizers.
Yeah.
Sometimes somebody will call a bluff and there might be a physical altercation, but it's seldom, if ever, going to escalate to the point of what the actual threat is. Threats are bloated, inflated, like hyperbole.
Well, it's no different than like, well, my dad drives a tank. My dad could kick your dad's ass. Like, it's the same shit. Like,
it's ridiculous. Like, of all the things that we punish people for, the shit that never actually happens makes no sense to me.
I agree. Yeah.
Like, threats should never, ever be illegal. I don't give a fuck.
Well, yeah, because it's thoughts. Threats are thoughts, essentially.
Yeah. People make threats all the fucking time.
Yeah.
It's all about the severity of the consequences or the outcomes of the threats. But it's like, this is a threat. Hey, if you keep arguing with me, I'm not going to have sex with you tonight. That's a threat.
Yeah.
Right? It's if you don't do this that I want you to do or want you to stop doing, there will be a consequence. That's a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't we throwing that person in jail for withholding sex? It's a threat.
Well, it is.
It's something that you're taking somebody's wish away. You're taking their autonomy away. You're taking away something that they might have wanted or whatever. Yeah, you can argue all day on like the severity of the threat, but it's like, why bother, right? Because they're all fucking imaginary.
Well, and I don't know that the severity. Well, severity is subjective, so I don't know that you could necessarily, numerically account for that.
Here's the other thing. Threats pretty much never culminate in reality.
Yeah.
Ever. If you're going to jump right to killing somebody, you're not that likely to warn them.
True.
Because then they're going to be expecting it and have a defense for it.
Yeah.
So, like, if you really want to kill someone, you're not going to be like, if you don't shut up, I'm going to fucking kill you. Because then they're going to be like, wow, this guy might actually kill me, and you're gonna look over your shoulder a little bit, right? But
Yeah.
if you're just like, all right, whatever, man, and you walk away, and then you come back 2 hours later and kill him in his sleep, that, that's because we fucking legislate against threats.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Exactly.
You'll see a reduction in murder.
Totally.
Oh my god, there's so many good sound bites.
Oh yeah, there really is. Yeah, and like destigmatizing bullying and people talking about it, like I think that's really important. Like this is a big deal to me. I wish I could help everybody who's being bullied work through their problems. But
I mean, the problems are really with the bully, though.
Well, that was what I was gonna say. It's like the important thing to note is that it's not you, it's them.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a cliche relationship bullshit thing, but it really is.
Yeah, like, I mean, they're the ones that really need to talk things out.
Yeah, and if you're being bullied by somebody, chances are the bully is the one that actually has the problems. They're trying to make you small so they can comparatively seem big. And in the end, in reality, absolutely, like objectively, there's no difference.
Did you just quote Linkin Park?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really listen to him.
You said in the end, but then you basically said it doesn't really matter. Like,
it's one of the few Linkin Park songs that I kind of think is okay.
That's about the only one, yeah.
Yeah.
That guy committed suicide, I think.
Yeah.
Chester Bennington, I think his name was, the singer. And it's like, I don't know what his reasons were, but there's a good chance bullying was in his life.
Yeah.
And
we would never know because nobody ever fucking talks about it.
Yeah.
People bottle it up and it sticks with them for their entire life. They keep it inside and it festers and like dictates the course of your life. The best thing you could do is not let it do that, I guess.
Yeah.
Like be better than that. Like rise above it. I don't know.
If I can be empathetic for a moment, like I've mentioned that I've been a bully in high school, but like I can't really remember who I bullied, and I kind of wish I could because I would like to make amends or say, at least say like, hey, sorry, I was kind of a dick in high school. And, like just even the smallest gesture, because I've never had that happen to me.
No.
And if I can't remember who I was mean to, just the fact that I was kind of mean to people, maybe I was so insignificant in their memory too. Like maybe they don't even remember picking on me.
It's possible.
The impact is so lopsided. Like it affects
you know what? This reminds me so much of there was a video I watched of like Vietnam veterans going back to Vietnam and meeting the soldiers on both sides, like met each other and
was
made
a Heineken ad or
no it was a random video, but the soldiers on both sides like hung out together. It was like this dinner and stuff, and everybody shook hands and cried and hugged and like they said they were sorry. Like it's kind of equivalent in a way. I don't honestly see much of a difference there. But yeah, if you were a bully, I think reaching out to somebody in your past who you did bully is at whatever time it is a valuable thing. You just might save somebody's life. Just saying.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Or your own life.
I'll continue that after a commercial break because I really have to pee.
Okay, me too. All right. Willie B is here for the KSM Discombobulator. What's a discombobulator? Wouldn't you like to know? Woo! KSM Discombobulator. The KSM Discombobulator will provide all your discombobulating needs in a compact, affordable package. Need to discombobulate your cat? Done. Your friend? That too. The IRS agent? Yup. The discombobulator can do it all. But wait, there's more. Call within the next 12 minutes and we'll double your offer. Normally, one unit will set you back $50 million, but we'll send you 2 discombobulators for the low price of $19.95 plus shipping and handling. What a deal! Right.
So there was an instance, I don't know, 20 years ago, let's say. I was working in this restaurant, and a guy that picked on me from 4th to 6th grade comes into the restaurant, and I happen to be doing double duty as host and cook. So I saw him walk through the door, right? And I seated him, and he was like, he recognized me because it was only like a handful of years later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just out of high school. And I recognized him. He was a little thinner, whatever, but he was like, hey, how's it going? Like we were best buddies.
Huh.
And he was just like total hippie, like seemed really peaceful. And I could not stop hating him. Like, like he didn't make any kind of amends. Like it seemed like he treated it like we were best buddies, but he was like fucking cruel, you know? And it's that, I don't want to say it's necessarily a lack of empathy, right? Because there's been studies done on psychology where our memories are tailor fit to remember what we said, but not necessarily what the other person said in response to it.
Huh.
And then what the person said to us that elicited a response, but not necessarily what we responded with.
Interesting.
And that is interesting because our brains have this built-in bias to protect ourselves and see things in a way that paints us in a good light.
Yeah.
Like,
ooh,
was I a dick to them? Did I bring on the bullying? Did I antagonize them? Like,
or were you actually like, you know, buddy? Like,
yeah. What am I not remembering? How are they remembering it so differently than I do? You know?
Oh man.
Where's the missing link there?
That's crazy.
And, you know, like I didn't read about that study until some years later, 9 years later. But it wasn't until just now that I put those two things together and thought, like, he probably remembered things way different than I did.
Yeah.
And people don't stop to think about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like in our day-to-day lives, like it might not even be the most significant interaction you have with somebody, but we all see things very, very differently.
We do. And the significance should have some more beer. The significance of those things is kind of like a personal thing. Something that to you might seem no big deal, to me might seem a huge deal, or vice versa. And so maybe you think you're being bullied, but the person that's bullying you is just joking. Like, you don't know. And then memory too, especially as a lot of time goes on. It's like, I spend a lot of time thinking about the past and when things happened and what happened when, and it's so hard to remember with clarity. And
the joking aspect, right? Like, yeah, maybe you are just joking. And maybe if they confront you and be like, hey, that hurts or whatever, you might downplay that. Oh, I'm just joking, right?
Yeah.
But you're making assumptions based on your own perception of the situation. And that might create conflict.
Oh, sure. And how do you differentiate between joking and bullying and gaslighting or something? Like, how can you possibly know? And I don't know that we can know. I guess the important thing is to
I can't remember. Have I done a minute microscopy on gaslighting?
Maybe. If not, we should do like we should both do one together.
It's like well over 100 minute microscopy.
I can't keep track.
But
if not, we should do one together.
That's one that's like, it's a real thing, but it's also one of those things that people lump a whole lot of shit under it that don't belong there.
That's true. And like a lot of things, it does take a little analysis. Like, it's not like a black and white, cut and dried thing where it's obvious there's this or it's obvious it's not. Like, it's nuanced. And being able to understand nuance. In fact, that's something that I learned through all of this bullying stuff, is the ability to kind of like wrap my head around nuance and stuff that's kind of like gray. And now I kind of see the whole world as shades of gray. Not 50 Shades, but well, okay, maybe I do. Stupid ass book, by the way.
Unless you have heard the audiobook version by Gilbert Gottfried. The front wall of my vagina.
I have not heard that, but I'm guessing that's a joke. But if not, it totally should.
It is, but it's pretty funny.
Real thing. Like,
you should totally look that up.
Gilbert Gottfried reads 50 Shades of Grey. Oh man. That is not BDSM, by the way. That is not kink. It's, well, I won't say it because I don't want to be demonetized. Although I think we.
This episode. I'm not pissed.
It's just nicely drunk.
Yeah, we're not. There's no ads.
No, that's okay. That's
if
okay.
there are ads, it's pretty rare. If you saw ads, thank you for paying us, even though it wasn't up to you.
Yeah. Well, and if you got one of those double non-skippable ads, thank you for sticking through it. We didn't choose. I'm sorry about the purple mattress or something. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. I wish it was beer. We should have beer ads and gun ads and fucking survival stuff and things about like getting along and space travel, and that'd be cool.
Do you remember the oldie song from the 60s, Flying Purple People Eater?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So every time I hear the word purple, I think one-eyed, one bald, flying, purple-headed yogurt slinger. Like,
Well, that's a mouthful. Oh,
yeah,
wait.
one-eyed, one bald, purple-headed yogurt slinger.
Sucking my chocolate salty balls, right? Oh man, I wish we could throw
If we
in,
weren't
like,
demonetized before, we sure are now.
we are now. Well, there's
Usually
one
happens
last.
when we have this many beers.
That's true, and you know, I might have had quite a few beers, but I can still think critically and rationally. And one of the things, one of the last things I wanted us to get to is this concept of cyberbullying.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't see it like, I don't think the cyber is anything significant. It's the same thing, just wearing a different coat, basically.
Well, you have tools in the internet,
Mm-hmm.
even in cell phones, right? You can block people if they're giving you shit. You just turn them off.
Here's
that's
the
a
problem.
privilege that most people don't have in real life.
So,
right?
okay, the difference between classic bullying, and the modern era cyberbullying, I take offense to that term, but we'll say that's what it is, because that's what everybody understands, even though they don't actually understand it. Back in the day when you and I were kids, you know, you'd have your bully, and they would like make fun of you, they'd berate you in front of the class or whatever, and you know, at recess or something. But it was localized to that one place.
Mm-hmm.
Today, with the advent of social media and things like that, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, bullying can take place across the entire planet. So somebody, and not only that, it's persistent. People forget things, but the internet doesn't forget. So you might become a meme. Now, I have to say, for those who think that, you know, who feel bad at becoming a meme at their own sake, right? Like people making fun of somebody. Like, okay, if you've become a meme, you've made it. Like, you are a god. Like, you have no idea. I know it sounds bad, but you are a god. But you know, for a kid, it can be devastating. Like, it can totally ruin your life. And that's one of the things that's kind of bad about the internet, is how persistent and how widespread it is. People, it's not just people in your own school, your own hometown. Now it's people in the whole country, or you know, an entire continent, or the whole planet. The whole planet is making fun of you because you did a little like dance or something, or you busted out a lightsaber, and you know, like yeah.
Here's the thing that people have to consider, though, is that everybody's got big balls on the internet. Like, it's not even real.
That's true.
Like anything that somebody says to you on the internet, you guarantee they aren't going to back that shit up in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Well,
like I talked earlier about how we need to relax on threats. If the threat comes over the internet, you just need to say, that ain't real.
Yeah, like, I would argue that translates to real life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people saying, there used to be a saying when I was a kid, you know, sticks and stones can hurt my bones, but words can never hurt me. We used to say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what the internet is. It's virtual. It's non-existent. It's words. And kind of something that you said earlier, like way earlier, about judo. Like, if you gain popularity by being made fun of, well, that's an opportunity to monetize that shit. Like, you know, you take that and you grab it and you just throw it to the ground, and boom, out comes money. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's always possible
yeah.
to make lemonade out of lemons or whatever, but
Well, and you have a lot more friends than you have detractors.
and you have more power.
Yeah.
Like you can block, like I said, you can block people. Yeah, they can make dummy accounts and like keep picking on you or whatever, but like it takes them more work. And eventually they're just gonna stop. Yeah, it'll become so much work that they'll just give up, right? Like
true.
It's not the end of the fucking world if you get cyberbullied. Like,
Well, yeah, and reacting is what gives them control.
yeah.
That's the important lesson there. Like, if you react, they know they control you.
Yeah. They know two things. They know that it works, and they know that you've responded, and that probably just pisses them off more. Mm-hmm. So it's like, like if you just do nothing, if you ignore them, if you let them like get their shit out on the table and process it in whatever way they need to, it's gonna stop. Mm-hmm. If you don't fuel that fire, it'll burn out.
Yeah.
Like, don't respond. That's the other beautiful thing of the internet, right? Like in person, if somebody is in your face and calling you a nerd or whatever, you can't really get around. You can't just pretend they're invisible, right?
True.
Like that's not practical. On the internet, they are invisible. Literally.
Yeah, exactly. They're basically avatars and memes.
Yeah, treat it that way. They're invisible. Whatever.
Well,
you block them, or you just pretend you didn't see it, or you delete it. You have so much control on the internet. It's ridiculous.
Yet, kids today think that is the end all be all. Like it is a big deal.
Yeah. Well, because we don't normalize talks like this.
Well, that's true.
Like they don't understand how much power they have or options for handling it. Like, yeah, it's going to suck for a minute, but if you just don't rise to it and, you don't call them tetchy, or whatever,
you getting on my pecs.
We're going to get through this.
Oh man. Well, yeah. I had a thought, but I might have had too much beer. But I think it's an important point.
Well, I mean, like cyberbullying has driven people to suicide.
Yeah,
but
sadly,
it didn't have to. Like,
no.
There are more ways to shoot it down than in-person bullying.
Oh, I remember. Self-deprecation. Mm-hmm. That, like, if you make fun of yourself, well, now nobody else can make fun of you.
Yeah. Basically, that's the power of it. Like,
yeah.
That
which shows that you have all the power and nobody else.
Yeah. I mean, that's a classic example, right? Self-deprecation, taking away the power of an insult, is exactly what the Black community did with the N-word, right?
Yep.
They made it their own. They tweaked it a little bit by taking the R off the end.
Mm-hmm.
And they made it their own, and they made it like a term of endearment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the word still hurts a good chunk of Black people, and the word hurts the whole world. Yeah. It's become one of those ugly words, right? But it doesn't have anywhere near the power it used to, and that's because they took the power out of it. Now, when you out and out just nullify or cancel a word entirely, like retarded
Mhm.
or, cunt or whatever. You're giving it power.
Oh yeah.
You're
Yeah.
making it stronger when it does get used.
Well, if you react to it, you're making it stronger. Like
Exactly.
react negatively. Like if you
The ultimate
allow,
reaction is to be like, don't say that ever at all.
well, we choose to be affected by things.
Mm-hmm.
So if we allow things to affect us, they have control of us. If we mock them and make fun of them, well, then they now it's basically just a joke. Like the term nerd. Actually, now nerd is cool. God, where was that when I was in middle school? I would have been like top dog. Holy shit. Oh man. All the nerdy girls, like, oh man. I and that's the thing, like the kids today don't know how good they have it. What oh yeah, they don't. Um but there's when one thing diminishes, another thing emerges. There will always be another insult. And I think it in that vein, we shouldn't really take things too seriously. Um, there's always going to be somebody trying to get your goat, trying to motivate you to feel shitty about yourself for their own benefit. And, you should honestly pity them because the source of their actions is probably, well, a position of weakness.
Yeah.
There's something going on. Like it's not you. You're not the problem. You just happen to be a convenient target. And it's unfortunate. Um, Part of me wants to see the bullies and the bullied like become best friends at some point. I like, oh man,
I mean, I don't know how often that happens,
very
honestly.
rarely, sadly.
Um, because there's a lot of damage done in a protracted sort of negative experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fault anyone for that, myself included. Like, however nice that guy might have been when he came into the restaurant, acting like we were buddies, my end of that experience was not good. And
Yeah.
decades later, I still hold that prejudice. Like, he's not a good guy, whatever, you know?
And actually, it's kind of interesting. Like, I think a lot of enlightenment could be had by analyzing why that is. Why did he see that as like a positive thing?
I don't know that he saw it as positive. I just think he
Or,
remembers it differently
well,
or
that
doesn't remember it at all.
that could be, but he remembered you. So he
Yeah.
has to remember something. Like, so from his perspective, what did he see? Like, I don't know. Maybe was it delusional? Is it childhood dementia or something? I don't
Well,
know.
here's the thing, like most of the bullies I had when we were younger, we were actually friends.
Mm-hmm.
We went to each other's birthday parties, each other's houses, blah blah blah. And then as we got older, like
Mm-hmm.
not even double digits yet. Uh, a number of them started picking on me. And you know,
Huh.
whatever it is, it is what it is. And I mean, even in the sixth grade, like you said, hormones, they start kicking in for pretty much everybody. Um, One of my longest friends at the time, which was like 5 years, he started picking on me. and then I went to another school and we fell out of touch or whatever. But like at some point, he like apologized for that. I think even before I left the school, actually,
Huh.
you know, and so like I think it just depends on how long you have like positive versus negative relationships with people in the scope of like how long they're in your life.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's all a scale of value. You know, like
It's
do
true.
I value this person in a positive way or a negative way in however much they mean in my life right now?
Oh
And
man.
that carries on. You know, if a person is gone from your life for 30 years and then they reappear,
Hmm.
wherever that scale was, it's still there.
Yeah, yeah. You're, in fact, being subject to bullying, you're gonna harbor that and
Mm-hmm.
and think about it and dwell on it.
Well, I've seen a meme that actually is pretty poignant. Somebody somewhere, well, I'm paraphrasing here, somebody somewhere is judging you based on an old version of yourself.
Yeah.
And I absolutely do that with my bullies. Like I can see objectively that this hippie is probably a pretty good guy. I still hate him, you know? And there's people that hate me, even
Yeah.
though I'm not the person that fell into hate with, let's say.
Well, and that really sucks because at the end of the day, we're kind of all hating each other for stuff that happened when we were kids.
Well, yeah, that's dumb, but like at the same time, it's understandable because you don't have the knowledge of how they've changed, how
True.
they've grown, um, what they regret or remember, even. Uh, and that's to be expected. You know,
Yeah.
we're not clairvoyant.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, it's just one of the unfortunate like glitches in the programming of humanity.
Exactly. And
Should you think that we're programmed?
well, I do. Um, but that's that's its own episode. Oh man.
Didn't we do that one already?
Kind of.
Simulation theory,
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah. Oh man.
or that God has a plan. Like we haven't done
Mhm.
religion in a while. Yeah.
No, we haven't.
Anyway,
Well,
um, that
both
that's
being,
the thing, right? Like people change, and if you aren't there to see it, you're still judging them based off of what you know.
yeah, and what you know is only what you've observed
Yeah,
of
it's
them and
simultaneous.
your interactions.
It's simultaneously unfortunate, but also entirely justified.
Yeah. Okay.
Because what other choice do you like? You can't formulate an opinion on information you don't have.
That's true. Oh man.
However true, we've done episodes on the truth, right? Like however true it might be, if you don't have the evidence yourself, you have no reason to believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
faith is not a virtue. Faith is a weakness.
Exactly.
You know,
Oh, shit.
faith is only a virtue by coincidence.
Stop watches right twice a day.
Yep.
uh,
That is pretty poignant. Faith is only a virtue by coincidence. Somebody quote me on that.
you should know. I'm going to quote you on that. That's going to be your quote. That's good. Oh, man. Well, we're like about an hour and a quarter. No, an hour and three quarters.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I figured this would be a good one, but wow.
This is really good. We've been drinking and talking about this. This is really good. And I still feel like we haven't really completely figured everything out. But
Well, we need to interview a bully.
mm-hmm.
and somebody else that was bullied, and
Well,
ideally,
why don't we interview one of our own bullies?
oh yeah, I was about to say like they should be people that interacted with each other, but yeah, like
No, us. Like, because
yeah,
I honestly, I've forgiven everybody. And that's not like a Jesus kind of woo smoking pot kind of thing. Like, no, I've forgiven people because it makes a whole lot more sense now. Um, but that's me. Like, I can't expect everybody to be able to do that and see things that way. But
yeah,
I would encourage people to see things that way, especially as it goes back in time. When you're talking like middle school and stuff, like, come on, really, you're still hung up on that bully from sixth grade? Fuck.
I get it though. There's a lot of pain, inflicted
There
and
is, and
damage done.
it affects you. Like, there are still times where
Shapes your entire psyche.
yeah, it does, and there are still times where I wake up in a cold sweat with some bully nightmare. Like, I still remember that stuff.
Yeah.
Still affects me to this day, but working through it. And I wonder where these people are. I hope they haven't overdosed on heroin. Um,
I
yeah.
had a Schadenfreude moment when I caught up with an old buddy from those days, and he told me that one of my bullies went through a phase where he thought he was gay, and then he got into cocaine, and then he just kind of did whatever, just kind of like fell into obscurity. And I was like, ah, well, I became awesome, so fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and if you want to, that that's a good point. That
Not that there's anything wrong with being gay. I just want to point that out. But like,
no, but
the fact that he thought he was, but he isn't actually, is like kind of a identity crisis sort of thing.
Well,
Just to clarify.
and I would imagine that he would have originally thought that was a problem. So it's kind of ironic.
From a Catholic school, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And a Catholic college that he went to. So like he kept with it. Whereas I was like, something ain't right about Jesus here.
Okay, that's a moment to put into the beginning. Yeah, but being better, being a better person, accomplishing things, that's what we should strive for. I don't know. If some asshole is telling you you're nothing, who fucking cares? Who cares? Like, why should you care what that person thinks? I don't care what that person thinks. Like, it doesn't matter.
It comes down to their influence.
Well, yeah, and when you're kids, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
Like, the big boy on campus, like,
especially in a small class size, with, like private schools, which is why I was kind of surprised to hear that you had a better experience at private school. Because like they tend to be smaller, more protracted, social interactions.
Yeah.
And that has like a huge, leverage on who you become, right?
Yeah.
And who you are in that moment. And in my particular situation, it just happened to be that most of them were rich, spoiled brats. And I was the poor kid, like whether that was the motivating factor behind them being mean or the fact that I was just a nerd or whatever. Yeah. I was different. I had had a vivid imagination, whether that's autism or just being imaginative or whatever it is. I was different enough to cause them to feel the need to like poke fun at that. And
Well,
yeah,
and that sadly is what people do,
yeah.
is make fun of something different, which
And
sucks.
I lucked out that I didn't have it bad enough to the point where I wanted to kill people or kill myself. I went through suicidal thoughts later in life. I don't know if that's related or not, but
It's hard to
I,
say. Like, how do you calculate that?
I can't connect the dots,
Yeah.
at least in any like non-convoluted way. But it's not to say that my experience diminishes the other experiences of people who are driven to suicide or are driven to feel homicidal.
Yeah.
That's very real. It's very valid. Like you can push someone to pretty much anything you set your mind to.
Yeah.
Like psychology is prone to attacks. Like, like your computer can get a virus and your brain can be manipulated by bullying.
Yeah.
To self-destruct just the same way.
Bullying or abuse or something. I
Yeah.
think they're all kind of intertwined. Man, I think
And and really, like, it's not their fault.
no.
Like, yeah, they made the shitty decision in the end, but that decision would never have happened if they didn't get bullied. Like, call it victim blaming if you want. I don't give a fuck. The people that bullied the mass shooters, they kind of had it coming. I'm just gonna say it. Like, they poked a bear. If you poke a bear, you're gonna get fucking eaten.
And wouldn't there kind of be blood on their hands too? Like,
Yeah.
aren't they
like,
culpable?
Yeah, like if you pick on somebody enough, you have to expect reciprocation.
Yeah.
Like, that's always the case. There's always some kind of reciprocation, good or bad, until a point where it kind of fizzles out. Like,
yeah, like it could have easily been the guy that was bullying me. It could have been like me lashing out with a shovel, or I could have spent like 2 years developing my own nuclear bomb.
Yeah,
to
but I mean,
blow up an entire city.
Make it a positive thing, reciprocation. Like, oh, so and so bought me a book or whatever, and I'm gonna bake them a cake, and then they're gonna like take me to the movies or whatever. At some point, it fizzles out.
Yeah.
Like, you're paying each other back for kind things or mean things. It fizzles out at some point.
Yeah.
But like the only difference is like with the bad shit, if it gets to a certain point, somebody's life ends.
Yeah.
And I guess that's, the demarcation that you have to draw between those two things. But it's like with the bad stuff, we put so much emphasis on trying to stop that the wrong way. And I'm going back to the threat thing here. Like, we put so much emphasis on stopping people from leveling threats at each other that we're kind of taking away that last steam release. The pressure valve has been blocked.
Yeah.
You're basically saying like, okay, like the critical pressure release valve has now been closed. You're not allowed to make a threat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you get to your breaking point and, well, I know I can't make a threat because I'll get in trouble. If I'm going to get in trouble anyway, I might as well fucking kill the guy. That's
Yeah,
the
which is
problem.
like going from 0 to 11.
Yeah, that's the problem. The problem is we're trying to head something off at the pass at the absolute last minute.
Mm-hmm. Rather than when it begins.
Right. And that is the dumbest shit you can do.
Yeah.
Like when there's inexorable force on a certain momentum, and then you try to stop it, it's going to fail.
Yes, that is true.
like if you're at the top of Mount Everest and you see a snowball rolling down the hill and you stop it there, you've just prevented an avalanche. But if you let it go and you say, hey, base camp 1, stop that thing. And it's like 50 feet tall. Like when it gets to them, they're not going to stop it.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah. Man, I need to drink more because I'm on fire tonight.
Well, I'm losing steam a bit. I mean, we are like almost 2 hours into this episode, and
it's a passionate,
like a
subject.
Really good one, and I think deserves a lot more coverage. I think we're gonna have to come back to this one.
Yeah,
this is good.
All right. Well, if any of the people that picked on me or Eric are watching, why don't you come on the show and we'll hash things out.
Yeah, or duke it out, man. Kick your
you
ass.
Smell what the Rock is cooking.
Yeah. I would definitely be inclined to have a conversation before a fight.
As an aside, there's another Casey at my work, so I've opted to go by Rocky since well, Rochefort's hard to say for a lot of people, and my grandpa went by Rocky, so I was like, well, I guess now's the time to honor my grandpa and go by Rocky.
Nice.
We'll see if it sticks. It might just be a perpetual confusion, like, hey, Casey. Oh, not talking to me. Okay.
We'll just have to call you Rocky from here on out.
Oh, Adrian.
Oh, man.
Well,
this is actually like a really good episode.
Yeah.
Man.
And people should definitely hang out for the song if they haven't already dipped out hours ago.
Well, we did tell them when the song was happening, but
that's right.
Whatever.
It was blocking my nipples, so it should have been there a long time.
Well, it might have been blocking your nipples. We'll see. You did do that minute microscopy about nipples, which
that's right.
Put up here,
maybe there. If I remember.
I'll just like diddle that corner and maybe
there was a lot of nipples in that minute microscopy.
You had like a nipple nose. Oh,
and then like at the very end, I was like putting my cat down and there was like a nipple on the back of my head.
Oh, that was good.
There's so many Easter eggs in our videos. Like people just need to watch them like front to back.
Mm-hmm. It really sucks that so few people see this. But you know, eventually.
Yes.
Well, yeah, this is a tough subject, but I think we covered kind of a lot, and really, like, I wish there was a bully hotline for people who are going through that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why don't we make our own hotline?
Yeah. Like, because there's a suicide hotline if you are going through suicide. And it's like, well, that's like the last minute.
Yeah, head it off at the pass. Like,
Exactly.
like I was saying, you let the snowball get too big, and good luck stopping it.
Yeah. No, you're totally
Like,
right.
there really needs to be like more hotlines. Like the suicide hotline's great to have. Don't get me wrong, but to have like a bullying hotline, to have a financial trouble hotline, an addiction hotline.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be one, but
I think there is. Yeah.
like we've got to have more upstream preventative measures.
Well, yeah, because it takes a lot less energy to solve problems when they're small than when they're big.
Right.
It goes back to the whole snowball thing.
And, like therapy's great and all, but we don't have like ease of access in this country. We don't have a very robust universal healthcare system that allows for that.
Yeah. Like, I think it'd be good to have a hotline for people to call, like if they're being bullied, and it, especially like people who've been there and understand it, like people who understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like, you're not alone. There are so many people who have been bullied, and even the bullies that are bullying you have been bullied too.
Like, is there a way to set up a hotline that like sends text messages to potential like volunteers or whatever, people that have been through it, and say like, hey, are you available to take a call right now? Because throughout 24 hours of the day, there should always be somebody that would be willing to like lend an ear, that might have a minute, right?
Yeah.
To step aside and take a call. It's not one of those things that you would have to staff all the time or whatever. You could just have a system where it's kind of like DoorDash or whatever. Like, hey, there's a person that needs to talk about being bullied. Do you want to take this? And it like counts down, and then if not, it goes to whoever nabs it first, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we need more of that shit. We have the technology.
Yeah, we totally do. And me being a person who, like, every time somebody asks me to donate to a cause, I totally do. I donate to that cause.
Yeah.
Like, I'd throw my money in there, a couple bucks or something. Like,
if I'm not throwing all my money at something, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, I'm throwing all my money at things right now.
Well, it comes in waves. So
yeah.
Man. Well, I think we've we're like coming up on 2 hours now.
2 hours.
2 hours. That was actually a really good episode. And Floyd finally, look at the cat. He finally made himself known. So
thank you for sticking out through a feature-length episode of Kitchen Sink Microscopy. It's probably about time to fade in the outro song and roll the credits on the 2 hours of deep sink diving into bullying and cyberbullying and suicide and mass shootings and perspective.
Yeah. Camera empathy. One closes in, the soundtrack starts, the scene begins.
Exit stage beer.
Exactly. Not saying that's what you should use to compensate for your troubles.
Beer is not the answer.
Floyd just disagreed. Oh, well, nobody's gonna see that, but he put his paws on the beer can. Yeah. Oh, this is a pretty good episode. So
Wow. When did I get 2 cell phones?
Huh.
Oh, maybe I've had too much beer.
I think I bought you another one actually.
Oh, yeah.
But okay, well, now this cat is like rubbing all over the place. How you doing, Floyd? Yeah, good kitty.
Yes. Thanks
Yeah.
for deep sink diving with us into bullying, and we're sorry for dragging the ending out, as we always do.
Mm-hmm.
So hang out for the song. You hear it now.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. Nobody ever does, so nobody will ever hear this, so fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck them if they can't take a joke.
Fuck all our listeners. Fuck each and every one of you. Fuck you. Screw you.
That's the thing that like actually makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fuck
fuck you.
my
Swivel on it, punk.